Anin bojo kanawia, Mr. McLeod Mondiamina, Bajinaka Queen Monim. I just want to let you guys know that links to the dictionary, PDFs to the worksheet, audio files are in links in the description of this video, as well as any other resources that'll help you out with this lesson will eventually be there as soon as I'm done making them. Ahau miigwech. Anin bojo, Mr. McLeod Mondaya, and today's lesson is on pluralizing animate nouns. So pluralizing patterns for animate nouns in Nipissing Nishnaabemwin. All right, so what is nouns and morphology? Morphology is how we understand the formation of words. Morphology includes the study of root words, suffixes, and prefixes. In this lesson, we will focus strictly on suffixes and how they affect a variety of animate nouns in Nishnaabemwin Nipissing dialect. So nouns are either a person, place, or thing. And so for your studying, I've indicated which points to write down in your notes to help you with the worksheet for this lesson. So I'll just stop here, let you pause to write down these 3 points. All right, let's go. All right, so singular versus plural. Singular refers to just one of something. Plural refers to more than one of something. And again, this would be really important for your notes, so I'll pause here to let you guys pause the video and record these in your notes. All right, let's move on. So what are suffixes? Suffixes are a unit of language placed at the end of a word to change its original meaning. So in English, to pluralize a noun, we usually add the letter S to the end of our singular noun. For example, dog is a single canine animal, but if we add the plural suffix S, we end up with dogs. This changes the meaning from a single canine animal to more than one canine animal. So again, for your notes, I've indicated the point to write down in your notes for the work this week. All right, let's move on. So noun genders in language. Some language classify their nouns into gender categories. For the purposes of this class, gender does not refer to the sex of a noun, but assists them to categorize the nouns. French uses masculine and feminine system to classify their nouns. Nishnaabemwin uses animate and inanimate to classify their nouns. And so this point here is important for your notes, so I'll pause here for you guys to write it down. Okay, let's move on. All right, so animacy versus inanimacy. So for Nishnaabemwin language learning, I personally find it easier not to attach any meaning to the terms animate and inanimate. Just think of them as category A and category 1. Neither supersedes the other, and neither is alive nor dead. In this lesson, we will be learning about Nishnaabemwin nouns that are categorized as animate. So some more notes on animacy versus inanimacy. One of the problems with associating words like alive with animate in Nishnaabemwin is we come across examples that don't align with our current English understandings of nouns. For example, in English, we wouldn't consider a rope as animate, but in Nishnaabemwin, it just is. Don't ask me why. I don't have all the answers. So I know it's weird to consider some nouns animate and others inanimate, but when you listen to native speakers of Nishnaabemwin, they never mix up their verbs that relate to inanimate nouns. Those are your VII and VTI words. And the verbs that relate to animate nouns, such as your VAI words and your VTA words. So verbs we used to talk about a rope are the same verbs we would use to talk about people, animals, etc. So an extra note on animacy and inanimacy related to dialect. So keep in mind, not all nouns we've learned in this class are universally accepted as animate, inanimate in all dialects. Some examples we discuss here today might be inanimate in another dialect. The way to find out if something is animate or inanimate is to ask a speaker to pluralize the noun. If the plural suffix ends in an N sound, it is inanimate. So your plural suffixes are an, oon, iin. If the plural suffix ends in a G or K sound, it is animate. And we'll go over those suffixes later. And so I've indicated what points to write down for your notes here, these 3 points. So I'll pause here to let you guys write these down. All right, let's move on. So Nishnaabemwin's part Beshik. So we have a few nouns here. I would recommend you guys to write these down in your notes, and then we'll go over the translations. So I'll pause here to let you guys write these down. All right, let's get to translating. So all the words on your screen are translations for the pictures underneath. So the first word is pkwezhgan. Pkwezhgan. And so that word means bread. It's an animate noun. Next word, bibins. You might have a pretty good guess for this one already because it's very similar to the English example. Bibins in Ojibwe, in English, means baby. Next one, shkinwe. Shkinwe means young man, as indicated by the grass dancer here. So we have a grass dancer here. And this is usually a male dance. Next, we have shkinigikwe. And this word means young woman. Next, we have the word kwe. And so that word means woman. And lastly, the last word here, kik, means cooking pot. All right, let's move on. So Nishnaabemwin nouns part Nij. So these are our words here. I'll pause here for a second there to let you guys pause the video and write these down. All right, so these are our words, and here is what they mean. The first word is de-ba-te. De-ba-te. And it means pie. Next one is mose. Mose. And I'm pretty sure you know what it means. Moose. Next one, we have gindas twagan. Gindas twagan. And it means die, a single die. Now, a single die is spelled D-I. Plural, dice, is spelled D-I-C-E. We've had numerous discussions about this in this class. Just write it as D-I for single and D-I-C-E for plural. Google will back me up. Next one, ze sub. Ze sub. And this word means rope. And our last one here, nine, and it means man. All right, let's move on once you have those written down or translated. All right, so pluralizing animate nouns in Nipissing Nishnaabemwin. So just like S in English, Nishnaabemwin uses a suffix to pluralize their animate nouns. Animate nouns sometimes have their own suffix connectors.
These suffix connectors change the sound of our plural suffix, ag. So all nouns are pluralized with ag. All our animate nouns are pluralized with the suffix ag, but our suffix connectors adjust the sound slightly. And so I've indicated the points to write down in your notes. We'll pause here to give you a chance to pause the video and write these down. All right, let's move on. So pluralizing animate nouns in Nipissing Nishnaabemwin. Also, syncopation affects how we pronounce words. So don't forget to apply our second last consonant rule. So our second last consonant rule, if there's a short vowel behind the second last consonant and a vowel sound before the second last consonant, you got to get rid of the short vowel sound. And that's just what this says here. Second last consonant rule. Before you attach a suffix that starts with a vowel, if the second last consonant has a vowel sound in front of it and a short vowel sound, that's A, I, or O behind it, you have to drop the short vowel after the second last consonant. So again, for your notes, I've highlighted the point that needs to be written down. So we'll pause here so you can write it down. Okay, let's move on. So, syncopation. Generally referred to as vowel dropping or deletion. Syncopation in this class will refer to the stressing and de-stressing of short vowel sounds A, I, and O. That's single A, single I, and single O. Syncopation is a common characteristic among several Eastern Nishnaabemwin dialects. So, second last consonant rule, how syncopation affects pluralizing. This is a visual representation of what the second last consonant rule looks like. So we have the word mskomin here, which means raspberry. And if we count back to our second last consonant sound, we'll have to decipher if it has a vowel sound in front and a short vowel sound afterwards. Consonant sounds are sounds that we make with a closed mouth and or teeth. Vowel sounds are sounds that we can maintain with an open mouth. E, O, ah. And consonant sounds, they're usually very difficult to maintain. So we're going to find our last consonant sound in the word, which is an N sound. You'll know it's a consonant because we need to close our mouth and our teeth to make that noise. Next is an I sound. It's made with an open mouth and we can maintain it, so it's a vowel sound. So we're going to skip to the second last consonant, which is an M sound. Again, you know it's a consonant because we need a closed mouth and our teeth to make that noise. Next, we need to examine the sounds in front and behind the M sound. If there's a vowel sound in front and a short one after, we got to Thanos that short vowel sound and get rid of it. So the first, that O sound in front is a vowel sound. We can maintain it with an open mouth. O. And we have a short I after it, a single I. So we got to Thanos that short I sound before we add our suffix. Bring in the N sound and then add our plural suffix, which is ag. So that's how we go from mskomin to mskumnug, which is raspberries, plural. Suffix connectors. So in our dictionary, I have documented suffix connectors for as many nouns as I could. They are in the following format. So we have daubon, which is NA, which stands for noun animate, and its translation car. Next, we have noun suffix connector, daubon with a dash. This means that there's no suffix connector we need to worry about. We have nka, which is another animate noun, NA. means goose. And it doesn't have a suffix connector as well, but it ends in a vowel sound and the last one ends in a consonant sound. So these are things we have to be aware of. Next, we have guigon, which is a fish, also an animate noun, hence the NA. It has a noun suffix connector. That's an H sound. That's that nasal ending that we have. So that's something we have to pay attention to in the next slide. Next, we have ondeg, which means crow, another animate noun, and its suffix connector is a lowercase w. In this class, we have two W suffix connectors, and I differentiate between the two by having one lowercase and one uppercase. And so our next one, mong, is the word for loon in Ojibwe, and it has the uppercase W suffix connector. And these will act differently when the plural suffix is added. Lastly, we have the word sub, which is a word for net in Ojibwe, which is also animate. It has a short vowel sound in front that we normally de-stress, that a sub. Some dialects don't. And it has a suffix connector that's a Y sound. And so we'll have to see how that affects our plural suffix in the next slide. So here is a visual representation of what happens when we add our plural suffix to those same nouns. So the word for car, daban, because it doesn't have a suffix connector, we simply add ag. Boom, there we go. Dabanak, cars. Next one, nka plus ag. When we add that together, we got to get rid of one of the A sounds and then bring in that G sound. Nkug for geese. For our nasal suffix connectors like gigon, when you add ag, the H turns to a Y, and then you add ag. So gigon yug, fish, plural. For our lowercase w suffix connector, ondeg, when we add the plural suffix ag, you simply add it. Ondeg gwug means crows. Next here, for our uppercase W suffix connector, when you add the ag sound to mong, the W and A morph together to form a double O sound. So mongok, loons. And lastly, our word for net is sub, and it has a Y suffix connector. And so when you add ag, we have to pay attention to the Y and the A sound. And it changes to a double I. Sabik, nets. So Nishnaabemwin nouns, part Bejic, suffix connectors. So Kwejgun, and then you can see it doesn't have a suffix connector, and then an ag suffix. Bibis also doesn't have a suffix connector, and when we add ag, we'll see how that pluralizes. Shkinwe, again, ends with a vowel sound, has no suffix connector, and we add ag. Shkanigi kwe, again, no suffix connector, add ag. We'll see what happens with those vowel enders. Kwe, however, has a lowercase w suffix connector. So we'll see how that affects the ag when we add it for pluralizing. Kick has a uppercase W suffix connector. So if you remember what happened with mong, you apply that to kick when pluralizing. So here we have our nouns again, and we're going to pluralize them. So we have kwejgun. It didn't have a suffix connector on our last slide. So we add ag to it, and it changes from singular bread to breads. Next one, bibis, also doesn't have a suffix connector, so we just add ag to pluralize it. So bibis goes from bibi sug. Next one, shkinwe, doesn't have a suffix connector, but ends in a vowel sound. So we just add the G sound. Shkinwe becomes shkinweg. which goes from young man to young men. Next, shkinigikwe also doesn't have a suffix connector, but ends with a vowel sound. So we got to do what we did to the last one there and just add a G sound. So shkinigikwe becomes shkinigikweg. Next one, kwe has a lowercase w suffix connector. So when we add that AG sound, we have to include the W sound. So kwe becomes kwewag, which means women. And lastly, kick has a uppercase W suffix connector. And so when we add the AG, it becomes kikog, which translates to cooking pots. I can pause here in case you guys need to write these down. All right, Nishnaabemwin nouns, part Nij, suffix connectors. So debate ends with a vowel and then no suffix connector. So we'll pluralize that later. Mose has a capital W suffix connector and is pluralized with AG. So we'll see how that changes. Gindos twa gun ends in a consonant sound, but also doesn't have a suffix connector. Zesub has a Y suffix connector. So we'll see how that affects our plural suffix AG. And nine has a lowercase w suffix connector. So again, we'll see how that affects our plural suffix AG. All right, so Nishnaabemwin nouns, part Nij, we're going to pluralize these. So for these ones, we're going to count back to our second last consonant to apply our second last consonant rule. So this first one here, that E sound at the end is a vowel sound. It can be maintained for a long time with an open mouth. E. T is made with closed teeth and is pretty instantaneous. So that's our last consonant sound. Double A is made with an open mouth and can be held for a while. Ah. And B is made with a closed mouth and again can't be maintained or you struggle to maintain it. So this is our second last consonant sound. So if there's a vowel sound in front and a short one after, we got to get rid of the short vowel. So E is a vowel sound. Double A is not a short vowel sound. So there's nothing to get rid of here. So let's move on and add our plural suffix. And it ends with a vowel sound. So we're just adding G, turning pi into pies. Deba teg. Deba teg. Next one is moose. Second last consonant rule. So Z is a consonant sound made with a closed mouth. Z. O is made with an open mouth and can be maintained for a while. O. And then M is a consonant sound made with a closed mouth. And so there's no vowel sound in front, and double O is not a short vowel sound. So there's nothing to get rid of here. And it has a capital W suffix connector. So we add the AG, it turns to mozok, mozok for moose, plural. Next one, gindos twagan. So again, second last consonant rule. Let's count to our second last consonant. So we know the N sound is a consonant sound. It's made with a closed mouth or teeth. Is a short vowel sound. G, made with a slightly closed mouth and struggled to maintain. So that's our second last consonant. We know double A is a vowel sound. It's maintained with an open mouth. So we have a vowel sound in front and a short one after. So we have to get rid of that short vowel sound. So we got to Thanos that one there. Boom, Thanos. Bring in the N. And then this one doesn't have a suffix connector, so we'll just add AG to the end. Gindos twagnuk, which means dice. Next one, Zesub. Let's check the second last consonant sound. So we have a B sound here. B, closed mouth, struggle to maintain. We know A is a short vowel sound. S is made with a closed mouth. E is maintained with an open mouth, so we know that's a vowel sound. So we have our second last is S, and it has a vowel sound in front, short one after. So we got to get rid of the short vowel sound. And it has the Y suffix connector. So we have to keep that in mind when we add AG, which turns it into an IIG suffix. So ze speak is our word for ropes. So that's how we go from ze sub to ze speak. Lastly here, nene. So nene has the lowercase w suffix connector, and we're going to count to our second last consonant sound. So W is a consonant sound. W. It's made with a closed mouth. I we know is a short vowel. N we know is a consonant sound. It has an I in front of it and a short I after it. So we got to get rid of that short I before we add the plural suffix. So nene becomes ninwug. And there should be a familiar face over here. There's a handsome man right there. All right, so we'll pause here to let you guys write down these plural words. All right, let's move on. So plural suffix in noun suffix order. So our plural suffix appears as our third suffix in our noun suffix order. This means that when stacking noun suffixes or compounding them, there are two types of suffixes that could appear before our plural suffix. When another suffix appears before our plural suffix, all animate nouns are pluralized with just ag. We won't worry about those today, but maybe next lesson. So again, for your notes, I've indicated which points to write down for the work. So we'll pause here and let you guys write these down. All right, let's move on. So, in summary, just like our inanimate nouns, our animate nouns are pluralized by adding suffixes. Animate nouns are known for their plural suffixes ending in a G or K sound. We have 5 different plural suffixes. We have G for debate, debateg, AG for examples like kwej ganug, breads, OOG for kikog, IIG for zesbeek, and wug for like the example kwewug for women. Our second last consonant rule is still in effect for our animate nouns. If you're unsure what plural suffix to use, consult the dictionary on OneDrive. The suffix connectors will be listed and labeled along with the word. Mie, aja, that's it for now.